What are you hearing about Julio Jones as a Patriot being possible?
I believe there is some interest, but I don't know right now if I had to make a bet. I'm not sure I would put the Patriots as the betting favorites to get him. I think the Falcons are going to have to make some – I mean, they're going to have to scale back their offer or their asking price. And I get why they're asking for, the moon and the stars right now, because they're not going to trade him for another week. So you owe it to yourself to try to get that first-round pick. So the Falcons are going to have to lighten their demands, and I think they're probably going to have to take on some of Julio Jones' contract. So some things are really going to have to happen for him to wind up in New England. Now, I saw there was a report today that there's a first-round pick on the table. If that's indeed the case, I don't think the Patriots are going to be willing to match that, but I believe there's interest. I just don't believe there's interest right now at the Falcons' asking price. So we'll see who blinks first in the next week.
Right. I mean, but there's only one team in the league where Atlanta, even though the general manager was different at the time, could go back and say, look, you gave us a 2 for Mohamed Sanu. We're not taking a 2 for Julio. I mean, like that is a reasonable response to somebody who says we're not giving you a 1 for a 32-year-old wide receiver. It's not just any wide receiver. And I'd imagine the way that they upgraded and the way that they do have the ability, what they did in free agency, to take advantage of other teams' cap problems, with the cap over the next year already being announced to having a ceiling of $208 million. I mean, you got to think maybe now's the time's ripe to do it. Just go and do it, right? Go get an Alabama wide receiver for your Alabama quarterback, even though they're from different eras.
Along with half the Alabama defense.
Right.
It's
right.
Absolutely. I mean,
right?
He would be a great fit because all those guys who can produce over the middle that we were talking about earlier, now you add one of the game's best outside threats. I mean, that would do a ton to really balance your passing game and the offense, and not just for this season. I mean, you're talking about Mac Jones taking over, I think, at latest in 2022. Adding a guy like Julio Jones would help him beyond. So, yeah, I mean, I certainly see what you're saying with the aggressive approach, and I understand the relation to the Mohamed Sanu trade. But I think the difference there is if you're the Patriots, you're kind of calling the Falcons' bluff for right now. And you're going to say, hey, whatever's on the table, let's say it is a second-round pick.
Right.
You're trying to sit there and say, we know you're trading him. I mean, you have the cap issue. You can't sign a single one of your rookies. So you have to take whatever the best offer is on the table. And the Patriots are sitting there probably saying, we believe this is the best offer that you've got. Now, who knows? They also have to think that there's another 2 on the table from somebody else. And then when you look at this roster and the way that it was overhauled this offseason, the Falcons have to sit there and say, well, that 2 right now is possibly going to be, the 50th pick, the 55th pick, depending on how good they are. So what are the Patriots going to do to sweeten that? Do you include a N'Keal Harry? You asked the Falcons if they were high on Harry before the draft, and maybe a change of scenery helps sway them. Or do you include a 4th-round pick? I mean, there are other pieces that you can add. I don't think they'd be willing to part with a first-rounder. If they are, I mean, the aggressive approach would fall in line with everything else that they've done in this offseason. And again, I think it'd be worth it based on how it would continue to help that offense.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.